3 years after my marriage, my husband walks up to me and confesses, "Hey, by the way, if I could have been with your sister, I would have never been with you. You are nothing compared to your sister, and I wish I could have her." When do you know what the one you love has stopped loving you? When? My husband Luke and I have been married for 3 years. This past week makes it our 3rd anniversary as a married couple, and one that began the journey of questioning why I chose to do life with that man. Luke and I met in college and believed that we were compatible. We took 2 courses together and belonged to the same science project group. I was the outspoken, chatty one, and I knew a lot about our school projects, which Luke appeared to struggle to understand. Being very observant and friendly, I approached him one day after class and just asked him if he would like me to explain some of the tasks to him so he could understand them and get a better score on his test. That's how we became friends. We practically became inseparable. He would buy me snacks and we would sit on a balcony after class to study practical science textbooks, and his quiet demeanor influenced me so much that I became a little reserved and stopped making rash, impulsive decisions like I usually would. I learned from him, and he learned from me. I became pretty comfortable with Luke to the extent that I took him home to visit my family. With absolutely no further intentions, I just wanted my family to know that I found a new friend in school, and what a good friend he was. My family was very welcoming of Luke, and as you know, everybody loved the quiet Luke, who was starting, a difference from ever-energetic Lisa. Soon our visits became very frequent. Luke got accustomed to everybody and was primarily a friend to my younger sister Jane. Jane and I were practically inseparable. We shared clothing and shoes and all the things that we owned. She would feature in Luke and my conversations from time to time, and I always talked about her and all of our activities together, so it was natural for Luke to bond with her when he started to visit us. Sometimes Luke would come unannounced, and one he called surprise visits, and he would come bearing gifts. Flowers and chocolates for me, cookies for Jane, and fruits for my parents. He was such a gentleman, and he knew just how to treat everyone right. Most of all, Luke's friendship with Jane was quite close. They laughed and talked like best friends would, and I'm telling you this just because it's a part of the journey so that you would know that I did not make the decision to marry him in a hurry. I made very keen observations before I proceeded to get into a relationship with him. Everyone was overjoyed when we went ahead to announce our engagement. Well, I'd say everyone except for Jane. She sucked the entire party, and I simply dismissed it as sibling jealousy. So Luke and I got married, and everything was great. We enjoyed our honeymoon and had the best 3 years of our marriage until now. This past week, Luke and I had a fight that turned bad. One of our usual fights was about him littering his things and learning to pick up after himself. In my usual manner, I told him to get his act together, and Luke said something to me that I have been unable to overcome. In a fit of anger, he threw the shirt that he was holding on the couch and said to me, "I should have never married you. I settled for you. It's Jane that I should have married." And he left the house and slammed the door in anger. I stood there, transfixed. I could not believe my ears. Did Luke just tell me that I was a settlement? And a person he truly is in love with is Jane, my younger sister? As I write this to you guys, I feel a lot of pain. I do. I can't believe that my sister and my husband would get together behind my back to cheat on me. As a matter of fact, I still don't believe it. I do not. I don't think that anything happened between them, and Jane and I are like best of friends. And she never would have anything to do with such. I need to find out what Luke really meant. He's on a trip and is not set to return until a few days later, and he left the day after the fight, and we're not currently on talking terms. I really want to know what went on behind me, but I simply don't know how to handle this. I don't even know if I should approach Jane just to discuss the matter or just dismiss the thoughts in my head and apologize to Luke and get it settled. Should I talk to Jane or not? I don't know what to do. What's up, everybody? So I do have multiple updates, and things are just now getting crazy. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you take a second and hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump into the first update. I can't believe that as I write this to you, I've yet to approach Jane concerning the matter, yet my heart still hurts. I know some people have advised me to confront her, but it takes work. This is my sister we're talking about here, guys. My best friend and my partner. I mean, how would she feel if my accusations turned out to be false? I would not be able to live with myself if after I confront Jane I found out that nothing actually happened, and it was all a stupid statement made by Luke and nothing more than a fit of anger. I don't know if I would be able to even forgive myself if, because of a man, I've damaged our relationship forever. And so that's the reason why I have yet to speak to her. This is a good time for us to have such conversation since Luke is on a trip. I could invite her over for some dinner and we could have some girl time, but I could not find the courage in me to ask her. I desperately want to find out more. I desperately want to hold on to the belief that nothing untoward is going on between Luke and Jane. I can't explain why I'm scared to approach Jane on the subject. Could it be because we were so close and I did not want to lose her? I don't know. All I know is that I'm terrified, and even though I want to find answers, a part of me doesn't want to find answers. While I thought of what to do, a call came in from my friend, Mary. See, Mary was a close friend that I grew up with. Aside from Luke and Jane, we all knew each other well. She knew how much I liked Luke and how committed I was to my sister Jane as well. Mary came over quite some time to our house as well, and "How are you doing, girl?" she asked me on the phone. And her question really made me question how I was doing. I thought I would be happier, that a marriage to Luke would be my whole world and my life is bright. But as I spoke to Mary, I wasn't. I let out a false, fake laugh and told her that I was okay. Luke was fine too, and everything was fine. When the call ended, I covered my face with my palms and I cried. I'd never felt such a huge realization of sadness before. Now that I think of it, the one person who can assess the situation and tell me boldly what to do would be my friend Mary. See, Mary knew both of us from childhood and understands how much we love and adore each other. She also knew Luke and the type of man that he was. She could access everyone after I told her the situation and advise me on whether or not I should confront Jane. At this point, I'll simply trust what she has to say and follow suit. I only pray that nothing happened and that statement made by Luke was only because he was angry and nothing more. I don't know how I'll act if I find out Luke has been cheating on me with my sister even before we got married. And I just simply did not know. Update number 2. Hey guys, so like I told you, I would speak with Mary, our friend, to get the perspective on things. So I decided to do just that, like some of you here had advised. Mary insisted that I had to ask Jane and clarify a few things with her, so she said if I chose not to, I would only keep guessing for as long as possible, and I would never be at peace. So I decided to take her word for it and act on it. I decided to let go of the fear and attachment that I had and clarify things with Jane. This wasn't just for Luke. No. It was not just for my marriage either. It was for my mental health. I wanted to remain sane and prevent the numerous thoughts that were attempting to choke me. So I decided I would speak to Jane and have her explain things to me if there were anything to explain. I booked a spot for us at a local restaurant I knew that she loved, and I called her up. She sounded so excited on the phone. So I went ahead and just told her I wanted us to have some time to talk since Luke was away on a trip. She agreed to come home from my parents' house, and it became just the two of us. So when I went to go and open up the door, she rushed in and straight up embraced me. I held her close, trying my best to keep my composure, and off we went to go and eat. I let her have whatever she wanted for her meal, and we discussed several things that bound us together. She told me tales of Mom and Dad and how sometimes they were lovesick and irritated her, and we laughed at both of it. I told her how much I missed her, and she never even visited me after Luke and I got married, which made me unhappy. She apologized and said she was busy with too many different things, and her work was demanding, which was understandable to me. I was at the point, and I asked her what she really thought about Luke. "Do you truly think Luke is the one for me?" I asked her and held my breath. "Well, you love him, don't you?" She answered, and I could not readily just read the emotion on her face. Jane was known to mask her emotions really, really well. She was the quieter one and always easily perceptive to other people's feelings. I simply nodded and she smiled, but that was not enough for me. I wanted to learn more from her, but did not want to tell her what Luke had said to me, so I just pushed further. Do you believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that I, your sister, should have married Luke? I saw the blood on her face drain, and her face grew pale as she processed my question. I was going to say something when she stood up abruptly and told me that she had to leave because of an emergency. I attempted to speak once more, but she dashed out of the restaurant, her gown flowing behind her. So, I was left speechless at the lunch table, unable to make out what was happening, and all I do have to say is that now I'm even more suspicious than ever, and I cannot wait to find out how this story is going to unfold. Update number 3. Guys, you would not believe what happened next. The story has taken a different shocking turn, so I left the restaurant feeling confused, dejected, and straight up defeated. I could not find closure as I was not talking to Luke, and my sister would not tell me what she knew. So, I simply dragged myself back home and fell on my bed with a heavy sigh. The exhaustion drove me into a deep sleep, and I was out for over 5 hours. I woke up to the sound of the doorbell and was wondering who it could be at this time. I knew that Luke would not return until days later, and I was not expecting any guest. So, I managed to get downstairs and opened up the door, and guess what I found at my door in such an hour? It was Jane, completely distraught. Her eyes were completely swollen from too much crying, and the moment she saw me, she fell into my arms and just wailed these loud sobs. I didn't know what happened. All I knew was that my sister looked like she was hurting really bad. I pulled her into the living room. I locked the doors and sat on the couch, placing her head on my lap so she could continue to cry if she wanted. Well, I just caressed her hair and asked her to talk to me. After a while, she sat up and looked me in the eyes and said something did happen between Luke and me. My heart rose as I heard those words, and I tried to keep my composure, but not in the way you would ever even think. Well, she went ahead to add, and I got more curious. That was how Jane revealed to me that Luke abused her 2 years before we got married. He what? I stood up and glared at her. One look at her, and I knew that she was not lying. Her eyes, they said it all. They were the eyes of a sad, angry girl, and I sat down and she told me that was why that she tried to dissuade me from marrying Luke in the first place, and it wasn't because she was not happy for me, but because she loved me. On the other hand, I did not listen to her and simply dismissed her displeasure as sibling jealousy. Well, I was livid with anger at this moment as she explained the ordeal of the day to me. Luke had visited as usual and brought 3 movie tickets. He wanted Jane to go with us and have a bit of fun. My parents were not home, and we were set to go to the movies, so I excused myself shortly to drive some miles away, just to run an errand while I told them to get ready and wait for me. I also wanted to pick up a gift for Luke. It was a nice wristwatch I ordered to surprise him, that jerk. That's when it must have happened. Jane said that she had gone into her room to quickly change her pants, which had a little stain on them, to another pair, and she went inside unaware of the fact that Luke followed her. She turned and saw him, and she was shocked right there. That's when he did it. Wow, he did things to her that I cannot even bear to think about, all right. And there's more. Yep. After the first encounter, Jane got scared of Luke. She could not face him or me, and later when Luke proposed to me, Jane was planning to come and tell me the truth because she believed that I did not deserve him. Well, but Luke got whim of it, and he threatened her and said that if she tried anything, he would make sure my life was absolutely miserable. And he would do things to me too. Jane was scared by his threat and could not tell me any longer. Luckily, she recorded Luke discreetly. She had a sense that he might threaten her. So she played the video for me, and guys, I absolutely wanted to puke. I could see his face and everything, and It was difficult for me to recognize the loving young man whom I'd fallen in love with. I turned the video off and wrapped my arms around Jane. I just wanted the memory to be wiped away. I want to wake up, and this is nothing but a bad dream. A nightmare that would go away once the day breaks. But alas, this is my life. Jane resumed her crying, and all I could do was hold her and let her cry. I let a tear or two fall down my cheeks and wiped my face afterward. I need to be strong for her. I need to be strong for myself, and I cannot believe that Luke would do such a thing. He had been my college sweetheart and told me several times how he loved me. I could not see how love would do this, so I sat there with Jane's head on my lap, sobbing, and just started to put things together. I remember that day when Luke did what he did to Jane. I had returned with my package and told Luke I was ready for the movies. He was sitting in the living room waiting for me. So I asked for Jane, and Luke told me that she went and changed her mind. Well, I found that to be a bit odd and strange, because the Jane I knew loved the movies. She was quiet and all right, but she was hopeless romantic at heart. It would not miss a chance to be in such an atmosphere. I went into her room to ask her if everything was okay. I could hear her running the bath, and she told me that everything was fine, and that she was feeling feverish and needs to rest. So she changed her mind. I believed her, and off we went. How ignorant I was of the pain inside of her voice. Well, coming back to Jane, I moved to Jane's head. She had slept off on my lap, and I positioned her properly on the couch and stood up so I could pace. I don't believe I'm typing this. I don't believe that this is my life. These things only happen in movies. Luke had the guts to abuse my sister and even threatened to do the same to me after how much I showed love to him. He'll have a big surprise waiting for him at his return. He doesn't know what's coming, but I do. Update number 4. Hey guys, I'm still in shock at how much my life has changed in the last few days. Nothing is the same. I have a cheating husband and a broken sister. Mary could also not believe it when I told her what I found out. None of us believed that Luke could do such a thing, but we knew Jane too. We knew that she was not lying. She was not a liar, and I saw all the signs. Yes, Luke and Jane played so much together and were practically best friends. It happened. I don't know if Luke got carried away or if he was simply in love with her and had to do it his way. But that could not be it. Love is beautiful and kind and not forceful. So whatever it was that Luke felt, I'm too sure it could not have been love. While I sat and thought about everything, I get a call from the agency. They told me that Luke had taken out a large amount of money from a loan, and they have not been able to reach him since. He had dropped my contact as his second contact, so there was another surprise for me. Luke had not told me that he took a loan out, and I had no idea what the loan was even for. So I just told the caller to keep calling him, as it was him and only him who would pay back all the debts he owed. I had no hand in it, and I would pay nothing back. I did not attempt to call Luke as I figured out what to do with the new development in my life. I insisted that Jane should not return to our parents' house to rest and simply be with me. I cannot believe that my sister kept all this to herself for 5 years. I could not think that she stayed quiet and robust. She made no fuss on our wedding day simply because I had told her Luke makes me happy, and I didn't know what I would do if I lost him. She had kept all her emotions and locked them in, and she had chosen to mask everything entirely because of me, and I was beyond grateful. I decided to set my plan in motion. I had dismissed her attitude and mood swings several times as a sibling jealousy. If only I knew. So, we had gone to the movies without her, and Luke acted like everything was fine. He had laughed and hugged me when I gave him the gift, and I only didn't know that I was hugging a heartless, thoughtless person. Ugh. He had been the one to convince me to let Jane be, quote, the young lady, probably because she needs some rest. He even said, and, well, if only I knew that he was the cause of the needed rest. So, I got out of my thoughts and I knew exactly what to do. I was not going to continue in such a level of betrayal. First, I would ensure that Luke pays his debt alone. And I knew that he was broke because I earned more and we spent more money of mine. and then the other surprise would be coming to roll in. He has bigger surprises waiting for him because the offense he has committed is a grave one, and I'm going to ensure that I make his life a living hell while I seek justice for my sister. Final updates. Hey guys, after I thought everything was happening, well, guess what? I decide to divorce Luke. Yep, that's right. I don't deserve somebody that wicked. I only want to be happy. I earned none of this. Some people have said I was immature and insecure by going to my sister. But this is my life and not some movie. So this is happening to me, and Luke deserved to get what was coming to him. All the while, I had thought I was the problem. And I had thought maybe I had done something wrong and that I was why he had an eye for Jane. But I had been wrong all along. He was the one who needed to work on whatever was wrong with him. After I was convinced that Jane was stable enough, we returned to my parents' house and I told them all that happened. Of course, they were in utter shock, just like Mary was too, and nobody would expect a happy, gentle-looking guy to do such a thing. But it happened. It was not a lie, and it was not a movie. My life right before me was turning into something that I could not make meaning out of anymore. My parents apologized to Jane for not watching out for her well enough and proceeded to file a suit against Luke for harassment. So, I prepared my divorce papers to sign and was ready when he got home. And guess what, guys? Luke returned the next day to tell me that he was no longer upset with me and forgave me for nagging him. Yeah, the nerve. I burst into a hysterical laughter. I've never laughed so hard in my life, and I said, "You forgive who?" I asked him amidst the laughter, and he stood there staring at me just with confusion. I pulled out the divorce papers, and there I told him that I want a divorce. Well, he opened his mouth and could not close it. "You must be joking," he said, and I cut him short with the laughter and said, "Yes, I can, and I am. I never knew I was living with a soulless man. You abused my sister 5 years ago, and you have since acted like everything is fine. What kind of man are you?" I slapped him so hard in the face and said, "I hate you." I screamed and I stomped out of the living room and headed upstairs to the room I shared with him. I came down with bags fully packed and said to him, "While we're finalizing our divorce, I would not stay under the same roof as you." And that was how I moved out. Jane was waiting for me by the car, and when she saw me open the door, she ran into my arms and embraced me. Later, Luke got the divorce and the arrest he deserved. The video recording came in handy for us in court, and that was all the evidence needed to make Luke plead guilty. He was not only to serve jail term, but was also to pay heavily for the damages caused to Jane, both emotionally too. When the judge gave the verdict in court, and he was being taken away, Luke looked at me and mouthed, "I'm so sorry." Oh, but it was rather too late. He should have thought about the consequences of his actions before proceeding to do them. I'm glad that he'll learn not to tamper with people's lives and emotions in the future. Thank you for being my saving grace, y'all. I would not have come this far without your support. Guys, I'll be honest with you, I was reviewing some of these comments and some of them were just straight up disgusting. Like, basically what I'm saying is, instead of people blaming Luke, which they should have done since he's the one who abused somebody, what they did instead was blame Jane, saying that she held this in, she should have came clean about it. Well guys, I want to just say that this is all Luke's fault. This is not Jane's fault, and she didn't know how to come out with this information of what he did to her. But I do want to know your thoughts, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you could give OP or Jane a little bit of advice. What would you say to either one of them? Drop it down below. Let's talk about it, guys. I want to know also what you think of Luke. We also know at the end of the story, he got what's coming towards him, and he's going to be facing some time in jail. Guys, that's going to be it for today's story, and if you want more daily drama stories, consider subscribing. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.